your guests can say whatever the crap they want and potentially get away with it. So,
well, you can save that one. We can do that little anecdote after the funny one. So we are officially live, just so you know. So don't say anything racist or anything like that. We don't want to get knocked off the YouTubes on our very first live stream, if we can help it.
I will not be censored.
YouTube says challenge accepted.
No way.
Nope, not this. This is educational only. Limited controversy. Probably more controversy in whether or not we choose to keep letting crazy people stay in our Airbnbs. That's probably the worst it's going to get. Let's see. Where did my music go? I want to jam. I want like just a minute of jamming.
Jamming out.
Brand? No. Which one? Did we like dance pop? Kind of like dance pop.
I don't hear anything. I don't.
Now you do.
My jam. Yeah. Okay.
Always was a good shimmier.
Yeah.
Shimmy game is strong.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh man. This is really interesting things out there. Really interesting stuff out there. Stories.
3 more minutes and then we will get started with our live stream today. If you are jumping in with us, which currently we're at 0, but I'm talking to the future audience out there. If you're jumping in with us in this particular live stream, then we will be jumping into it here in a minute, and we'll get into some good stuff and answer some of your questions. And I'm excited. This is a new venture for us. So
actually, yes. First time. Gonna be good. Got some good stuff ready for you guys today, and I hope you guys enjoy it. The place where you gotta have a beard if you believe on the Maybe not. Maybe that's not true. Just today.
I don't know. You don't have to have a beard to watch.
No, just be on the screen.
Yeah. So, well, maybe. Future guests may not have to have a beard. We'll see. We may make some sort of a overlay graphic where they have to stay put in one spot and it just has a beard on the screen. That way they can have a beard. Ladies included.
That's how it's going to be.
I like it.
AirBNBeard. That's how people are. We're going to get people to watch that stuff.
Are they?
Yes.
I don't know. Okay. Well,
it's guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah. Guaranteed 100%. Beer.
Well, let's see.
There you go.
What's that?
I just keep finding more stories.
Oh, hey, we got somebody watching us on live stream, everybody. I can see, I don't know if you can see it on your end since you're not technically, yeah, we are live, man. I was double checking, so, and they're gone. That didn't last long.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, so welcome to AirBNBeards. We are excited. This is our first episode. Obviously, we have no clue what we're doing. This is our sponsor for today. It's a Cup of Craft Coffee. We don't get any money from them, but it's good coffee and it keeps us going during the day. So this is, let me just kind of briefly give you the rundown. This is about short-term rental strategy, short-term rental changes, how to stay ahead. That's a part of what we're talking about today. But just overall, how to make you more successful in the short-term rental market. And we have a YouTube channel that we have started, AirBNBeard, and we do video cabin tours of short-term rentals as well as short-term rental strategy sessions. Let me introduce myself and our other host here today. We'll start with the other host. Evan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and maybe your background. That way we can know who you are.
Yeah, I am Evan. I am out here, and I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I've pretty much been in the real estate business for the past 10 years or so now, and have been just loving it. If you know me, if you've ever met me, and if you ever get on the topic of like business or real estate or investing, you're going to find out real quick that I love to talk about that, can get really passionate about it. And, over the past, I don't know, maybe 6 months or really it's been the last two years or so now. I've been diving real deep into short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and before that, I helped manage other people's Airbnbs as well, or short-term rentals. We called them corporate rentals, but just employee housing at the time before Airbnb kind of became as big as it is today. And but yeah, over the last 2 years now, I've had 2 Airbnbs myself, and have really been honing in my skills on getting those rented out, maxing out, and occupancy rates, how to compete, and so that's kind of become my niche. That and just trying to do anything that can create passive income in a big way, because that is really my true passion whenever it comes to business, is just creating passive revenue streams. So
yeah, so you've lived out in West Texas, you've lived in Nashville or in the Tennessee area, and so you have a little bit of experience in different types of markets. So we're really excited to get to share what your experience is. I have similar experience. I've done some corporate rentals, and I've done some Airbnb. Right now, I've got one Airbnb property out in an RV park in Oklahoma, so I'm excited about that one. It's starting to turn up quite a bit. So we are implementing a lot of new strategies. Listen, we are aspiring experts. We know a lot about it. There's always more to know. There's always more to learn. Evan knows more than me. I'll be right up front and honest with you. Evan knows more than I do about this stuff. He is the guru. I am the audience member who's learning about this stuff to a large degree. I'm going to ask the questions. He's going to answer the questions in a large capacity. So we're really excited about that. So Evan, tell me, so you have you've got a family out there?
Yeah. So I've got a wife and 2 kids currently. We got one on the way. We're gonna have a boy. So
yeah.
Boom.
Hope that wasn't secret, because it's live and out there for the world now. So.
It's out there. So I don't think that we put it on Facebook yet, but it's really just not a big deal.
It's there now for the one person watching this stream. So
yeah, well, we put it on Facebook for like the first kid, made a big announcement. Second kid, I think we even did it too, but then I guess by the third kid, it's like, meh.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up getting announced on Facebook, so why should I? And but yeah, so 2 girls and now having a boy, so super exciting there. And but yeah, we've been in Nashville it'll be 3 years in August, and we're loving it. There's some really cool stuff to do here. It's a really cool place to live, especially coming from the desert of West Texas, or I call it the armpit of Texas. So don't be offended. Anybody in West Texas, every single person in West Texas would probably nod their head with me when I call Midland, Odessa the armpit of Texas. So, and if you're offended, then I'm sorry, and I love you anyways. So
just what it is. So I have 4 boys, and part of the reason that I am working on this project and have done short-term rentals, and like Evan said, it's all about passive income. So when you start having kids, you realize that kids are expensive, and you have to figure out a way to feed them and keep them under a roof. So passive income is a good way to do that, where you can continue to pursue other passions, other projects, whatever else, and still be able to take care of the bills. So my boys are 3 years old to 10, and hopefully in the next 5 to 8 years, this little podcast, this live stream, I got to quit calling it a podcast. This live stream will become something that's really exciting and much bigger than the really high dollar backdrops that we have today. So as you know, it's called AirBNBeards, and I have been working on mine. I'm committed, obviously, to growing a beard. Been growing this thing for almost a year. I think I trimmed it down to nothing in July of last year.
What I've been working on.
And Evan has it the other way around. So I don't have near the hair.
Gorgeous locks. Yeah.
But he's got some locks. So he's making up for the beard right now while it's in mid growth. Yeah. But we are the AirBNBeard Bros, and we are excited. So Evan, I got to ask you. So Easter just happened. What candy did you buy the kids that you are eating most of right now?
I bought 12 Easter eggs, and they were taken to school. And I think Emily came back with some, and I haven't had any.
Man, you are you're quite disciplined. Mine has been the old robin eggs.
I was this close to eating those, but I knew she would actually find out, and I didn't want to get caught. So
yeah, we put a bunch in the kids' Easter eggs, and then I don't know that I've seen them eat any of them, and there's not very many left. So
they're so good. It's just a whopper.
I'm unashamed, really unashamed. Yeah. So. Well, let's jump into it. That's a little bit about us. The few of you that are on the live stream right now, we're so grateful that you're here. Make sure if you've got a question as we're going through this stuff, put it in a comment down below, and we'll see if we can get to that as we are concluding or somewhere toward the middle. If it pops up in the middle, we're at a good spot. We might just answer it right there. But we are starting to gain. We've infinitely exceeded all of our prior streams, which are nil, and we're at 4. We're at 4 people watching right now. So super excited. Glad you're here. It's probably our wives and a couple of close friends, but that's fine. That's totally fine. All right, so let's jump into it. Evan, I heard you came across an interesting little story about short-term rental. I'd love to hear it, and let's see if there's any nuggets in there.
There's, there's just so much out there. Some really, really terrible stories from all different sides, from the guest side, from the host side, from the Airbnb or call center representative taking the phone call. I mean, we're talking pets getting barbecued. We're talking houses getting burned down.
Oh, there's a lot of jokes there. I'm going to stay away from them.
There's a lot of really, really rough things, but I will say that that's not the standard.
No,
everybody's going to have a story or two. I'd say when you have other people living in your houses and stuff, but for the most part, I will just say, don't let that freak you out or anything. But there's a couple here that I just wanted to bring up, and one of them just really kind of an interesting thing. It's titled let me find it again. It's titled "The Smell of Death." So you can only imagine. There it is. Okay, so it's a. Can you imagine? Just put yourself in these shoes. Okay, this is the host writing this, and the host comes home and to their Airbnb, and they just notice there's an interesting smell, and they walk around. It smells like something died, and they're looking for a body or something, but they did not find a body. They did find that the 5 young men that they rented the house out to had stored or placed or hidden, however you want to look at it, 6 dead deer is underneath the house in the crawl space.
What?
Yeah. So how do you dispute that?
What? Why are you hiding deer in the house? Does it give any kind of context or just?
Well, I'm assuming they hunted and they got these deer, and then they cleaned the deer and they put the dead remains underneath the house.
They just left the carcasses, so they took the goods and left.
I assume. I
Wow.
hope so. Yeah. So anyways, that's definitely kind of one of the more interesting ones, and you can't say that that deer slaughtered itself necessarily and just crawled underneath the crawl house, the crawl space. It's definitely one of those things. Yeah.
Well, so there's a new line item for your terms and conditions on your Airbnb. Make sure that you put on there, if you illegally hunt our game animals on our property, don't store their dead carcasses under the house.
No storing dead carcasses.
I mean, we should compile a list and have just a running list on our YouTube page somewhere.
My advice is don't get too specific. just a blanket statement. No dead carcasses. Nowhere in the house. Nowhere underneath the house. On top of the house. Nowhere.
Well, I don't know which one's better, because we talked about the one before where I don't want to give too much away. Maybe we'll just use this one
Oh,
today, and the one where the guy literally barbecues the person's pet iguana.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's a story here that I was reading where is this man who's from a culture where they eat iguanas.
Like Florida.
Yeah, like Florida.
Floridians eat iguanas.
And he loved staying at this host's home so much that he wanted to give them a gift. Well, so there was a 7-year-old girl who had a pet iguana, and he gave it to him as a gift by barbecuing it, and was then, after devastating the little girl about her sweet little iguana, was then required to buy a new pet iguana and replace the grill.
Wow. I mean, I've heard iguana is good. I watch Deer Meat for Dinner on occasion, and he goes out and bow hunts for iguanas and whatever, and they grill them up, and it looks pretty good. But I can't imagine, it's like having like a chicken coop at an Airbnb. It's like maybe he thought it was similar. Like, this is just live food. It's ready to be cooked. So
these people like iguanas too. Yeah. So
yeah.
Not the case. Not this case.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Well, so in the future, we will have these snappy little transitions, but we're a very low budget, free product at the moment. We don't have any money to pour into this at the moment. So this is from the get-go. And so we're going to jump right into it. I want to show you a quick TikTok video that is going viral, and it has to do with what we're going to be talking about today, which is there have been some changes in the some of the policy issues surrounding like when a guest can cancel, and what they can do, maybe some ways to get around paying for some things. And we want to expose those issues, maybe debunk a couple of them, and just overall explain what these new changes are going to entail. So let me flip over to our screen here, and let's watch this together, and we can react to it.
Yes, I just checked into this place and it is terrible, and I'd like a full refund and an upgraded accommodation, please.
Hi, yes, according to our new policy, you just need to provide evidence of a disruption in your stay, and if things are not as they are supposed to be, we can help you with that.
Okay, well, what do you need me to show you?
Well, if the house is not clean, or if there are any types of pests inside the house, or even if the pool or hot tub are not functioning up to your expectations, that should do it. Literally anything, to be honest.
Well, for starters, when I arrived, I noticed that the house was very dirty. There was dirt and mulch all over the floors.
Oh my God, unlivable conditions.
Then I went into my bedroom to take a little siesta, and you will never believe what I found.
What?
There was a rabid iguana near my bed. They seem to live inside this house, and they are horrible.
What else?
I went to take a dip in the pool to cool off my anger and frustration and realized it was disgusting, covered in leaves and hadn't been cleaned in weeks.
Well, sir, according to our new policy, we will certainly force a refund from your host who didn't put a ton of money and time into this investment to rent out to people like you. And not only that, I'm looking on Airbnb and it appears that there are only a few options to move into. We will have a villa on a private island that is about $5,000 per night.
Whoa, I can't afford that.
Oh, that's okay. Don't sweat it. According to this new policy, we can actually force the host to pay for it. Yeah, screw these hosts. Well, sir, it looks like you are all set. Thanks for using Airbnb. Airbnb.
All right, so that is quite ironic given the little story we just talked about iguanas. Maybe we want that guy to come and stay at that house. I don't know,
Yeah.
the one that roasts iguanas.
Because he would appreciate it.
Yeah, it's almost like an amenity for him.
Yeah, it's the mini bar.
We don't charge for the mini bar. Just eat all the iguanas you want. Yes.
Oh dear.
I don't think that would be a common thing that people would have to deal with, but you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So, real quick, because I forgot to say this, just so anybody watching in the future understands, this is all stuff that a lot of these are opinions. Some of this is best practices, but we are in no way attorneys. We are not trying to tell you how to run your business. This is how we are running our business, and you can take or leave whatever you want, but just understand we're not an authority in the sense that we get to dictate how you run your business or how Airbnb does it. We're just reacting to the market and trying to explain best practices as we see.
What we're going to do is just kind of, I've kind of glanced through this a little bit. I know Coy's glanced through it. We've barely talked about this together, a little bit, but we're going to go through it with everybody and just see if we can interpret kind of what is being said here and how it's actually going to affect us, because, it all is going to come down to, actually making sure that what it's saying is the truth and it's not being misconstrued in some way. Because what ultimately is the case is Airbnb is going to make the final decision on it. And you are going to have to, show proof of these things like this. And so it is kind of important to make sure that you have some practices, some good practices in mind, moving forward, just in case you do get somebody who goes and grabs some dirt or throws some leaves in the pool, or like gets pets, or like, I don't know, like a lizard or like roaches or something from outside and throws them in the room or something. Like, yeah, that's not going to work. So we've got some, we've got some things to talk about there. And I really think that for the most part, this is all the same, stuff that's always been there. There's some minor tweaks.
Yeah, why don't we jump into it? So we actually have the booking, the refund policy right here. Mm-hmm. And we have what it used to be, and then we have what it is now. So why don't we start with what it used to be? And I can read through. I don't want to bore anybody or read to adults. That's not a cool thing to do. But let me just kind of break down, generally speaking, what the guest refund policy is for Airbnb as of December 15th, 2019, and that is going to officially change April the 29th of 2022. So that's coming up. We got a little over a week left, and so it's good to get ahead of these things and put some procedures and policies in place. That way you're not exposed, but also you can maybe change some of your lingo in your listing to make sure that it covers these items. And the worst thing you can do is give any guest a reason to complain or the avenue to complain. If you cut it off at the past, then they have nothing to complain about. So let's jump in here real quick. Travel issues. This is what this is in regards to. So travel issues is one of the following. It is being deceitful or incorrect or inaccurate on the size of your accommodation, number of rooms, bathrooms, how many kitchens or living rooms it has. They can definitely call you on that as of December 2019. So that's just what it is. Whether
fix too.
do what?
Yeah, I said, and this is an easy fix. Don't lie.
Yes. Key.
Make sure that the amenities you list are actually available and functional.
Yep.
That's really it. Just don't lie. So
yep. So if you don't tell people that they're going to be sharing a house with a college frat group or something like that, and they show up thinking they have the whole thing, don't do that. Again, don't lie. If there's any special amenities, like don't say that you have an 80-inch flat screen TV, full surround sound, Dolby system, kick and bass that's going to shake the house next door if all you have is a 1982 box TV that's only black and white with rabbit ears. Like it all comes down to make sure that you are consistent and what you list in your listing is appropriate. Also, physical location of your property in proximity. So like, don't say that you're in downtown if you're half a mile or a mile outside of main downtown area. Okay, so real briefly, this is one of the big changes, so we'll hammer on this a little bit. A guest refund policy, they have up to 24 hours after they check in to report a travel issue, and it's at our discretion, and our is Airbnb, to either reimburse the guest the amount that was paid through the platform to all the fees, or to use our reasonable efforts to help you find and book any unused nights. So if you only stay for part of the stay, then they can help find another accommodation for you that's comparable.
This is the old rules. This is the rules that have been in place since, apparently 2019. So
right. Airbnb shall decide whether an issue is, if it actually qualifies as a guest issue. That's key. Airbnb shall decide whether an issue reported by a guest qualifies as a travel issue and whether to reimburse or rebook a guest. So if you do it more than 24 hours after that, then at Airbnb's discretion, they can either reimburse you up to the total fees, depending on the nature of the travel issue. So they get to make a decision. Fortunately, in the past, it's been at their discretion. It's something that they can decide. Yes, this is worthy of reimbursing you everything or partial or rebooking you or whatever. It's all binding and final. Now, I guess hypothetically they can just gripe and complain. So let me just stop there, because I've read quite a bit, and I'll leave this on the screen. So if anybody else wants to read along there, have you ever had any issues with guests making use of any of these policies? Yeah, you. I don't know who else am I talking to.
So there's a. Let me just do this real quick. This is kind of where a lot of people are going to have most of the issues and stuff. So there's a bunch of stories. One of the stories I came across was from a guest, and they said that the host lied and tried to get their friends to pay a $250 cleaning fee, even though they did everything that the guy asked before they left. The guest declined the payment and never contacted him again. And then and to put it in context, these were some college students during spring break, and they claimed they didn't throw any parties and they didn't trash the place, and they left it pretty well. They cleaned it pretty well before they left. And then he's thinking that this host is probably like trying to scam some people to get a few extra $100 out of each guest or whatever. And that could be true. I don't know. It's all hearsay at this point. And the problem that a lot of people, even myself, are kind of trying to figure out is, if Airbnb is the determining, party in this group, in the trifecta between the host and the guest, and they're going based off of pictures and testimony, how in the world are they ever going to know, just exactly what the real story is? And so just reading this biased post, it is very clear that the host was in the wrong, in that case. And if what he's saying is true and they actually did clean it and they left it in good condition, there shouldn't be an extra cleaning fee, like if it is left in good shape. And that's a valid thing to do. So it really just comes down to honesty. But the problem is not everybody's honest. So how do you I mean, for me personally, there have been a couple of times where I had something like I had a disposal break one time, and and it was less than a year old and it broke. And it was not just like broke where you have to push the little button underneath it to reset it or whatever. It was dead. And I had to replace it. It cost me like over $200, I think like $250 to have somebody go and replace it. And the guest did end up paying some of it, but not without having to like really convince them and show them some of the receipts and everything. But without the receipts from a year before when I had replaced it myself and I paid for a new one to be put in, I wouldn't have been able to convince Airbnb that no, this was a new thing and he broke it because he shoved too much food down there at the same time and tried to turn it on and it broke. He burned it out. And so anyways, it's just a matter of being able to show the paper trail, so keep your receipts, keep your list of improvements, and just have all of that handy in the case in the event that anything ever does happen. You'll need to be able to refute that.
Well, let's look. So the key things are you have 24 hours to get like full credit. If you don't, and this goes to say, like, if you have a week-long stay and you check in, you have 24 hours to determine if there's a bunch of rabid iguanas living in the house. And if you stay more than 24 hours, then after 24 hours, you get less back, but you still have some right to be able to tell them that they have a crappy Airbnb or whatever. So that's one of the main things, 24 hours. The other one is, let's see, what is it? The other big change is some of the definitions of travel issues.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump back up because there's two changes for the 24 hours, which now is other travel issues must be reported to us no later than 72 hours after discovery. So it's no longer 24 hours after check-in, it's 24 hours after, or 72 hours after discovery. So you can stay for 3 or 4 days. And if you have a week-long stay, you stay for 3 or 4 days. You discover it on the 5th day or 4th day or whatever. And then you have a subsequent 3 days to tell Airbnb about it and potentially reimburse yourself or get your money back from the stay. How do you respond to that, Evan? How does that sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, that to me was kind of scary whenever I first heard that. I was thinking, my gosh, like people are gonna absolutely take advantage of this and they're gonna lie. They're gonna try to, go and grab some dirt or an iguana or whatever and go and create some travel issues, quote unquote. And just at face value, I thought, if that is really the case, then we're in trouble. And so I was just, I'm the kind of guy who, whenever there's a problem and I have questions, I'm going to go straight to the source. And so I went ahead and I just called Airbnb directly. And I talked to one of their, Superhost support people or whatever. And they kind of helped me. At first, I got a hold of a guy who was reading off the old rules. And then I went and checked and I was like, oh, maybe he didn't realize that the new rules were going to be updating. And that's kind of what I was talking about. But anyway, so I ended up calling back a second time. And this lady was much more helpful. She was going over the new rules with me instead of the old ones. And basically, she said, that's right. That this is what the case is, except for the big difference is you're not going to have to like worry about it being like people being able to lie about it, because we're going to require evidence, and they're going to know if it's like fabricated. You can't just go and grab dirt and throw it in the bed and say that was there before you arrived. Like, you could, but that is not, there's no way to actually really like prove that. They can send pictures, and then the host can refute that, say, no, my cleaning service cleaned and reset the sheets, and we have, proof because I, paid them, and then everything smells clean. Everything was reset and taken care of. And here's my laundry bill, and they're going to have to go and prove that. So it's all going to come down to, who's got enough proof, who has the paper trail. And Airbnb is not going to just roll over and force you to pay something that is unjust.
Wait, so you don't think that the TikTok guy is accurately representing Airbnb?
I don't think he's an actual Airbnb representative. No.
No. Well, so his thing is Airbnb is out there to screw hosts over, and to, they're all about the guests, and the guests are always right, which in a lot of businesses, the customer is right. But in this case, we're the customer. Like, Airbnb would not have a product without the hosts. So why would they do something that completely, or not inadvertently, but actually destroys the hosts or sets them up for failure? When that wrecks the only thing is some conspiracy theory about they're wanting to unsaturate the market or something silly like that, which that doesn't make any sense either from a business standpoint. So if you've seen that TikTok video, I want to encourage you, if you're just jumping on, we will make sure to link to that in the description when we post this thing later on down the way. But there's no way that Airbnb would shoot themselves in the foot like that. So they're out there to try to make it balanced. And I think what they were trying to do with this new policy update is it's always been in the host's favor to a large degree. And the guests didn't have a whole lot of say. And I'm sure that over the years, the complaints have stacked up. And so they're trying to make it more balanced. But at the same time, there's nuance, and they're trying to put in place safeguards for both the hosts and for the guests. So
here's the reality. That rule has been in place since the beginning. The rule, like, guests have always been able to do this. They've just had 24 hours to do it, and now they have 72 hours. That's really the only difference here.
Well, it's 72 hours after discovery. So that's what's kind of strange to me.
So and if there was, they get there and they're there for 3 days, and then all of a sudden they open up a bedroom that they haven't opened up before, and they just discover an iguana sitting on the bed. Well, then and then they could wait another 72 hours to report that. It's just going to show up as fishy to me. Like, if I was one of the Airbnb people, I was like, well, why didn't you go into that room before? Why weren't you using it? And, why did it take you 3 days to report this if you knew about it already? That just to me doesn't make any sense. And it's just going to throw up some red flags. So trying to falsify this evidence, it's going to be difficult for guests to falsify the evidence. And especially if you're a smart host and you're protecting yourself, which we'll go into a little bit later.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So let me just notate a couple other changes. So in the original verbiage in the conditions here for getting a refund based on a travel issue, it was those bullet points that we looked at earlier, and they've expanded that a little bit to include a few additional things. So a travel issue now includes incorrect location, you lied about your amenities, incorrect home type, shared home, whatever. But now it includes things like if you cancel the reservation prior to check-in as a host, if the host fails to provide access to the accommodation. So like if you have a keypad and it's not working and it's 10 o'clock at night and they don't, and you don't answer the phone for your guests who are calling in because maybe your battery died in your little keypad on your door or whatever, if you don't have some way for them to get in, then they can cancel it that way. If you fail to disclose in the listing that somebody else or a pet is now a specific entity that will get you reported for a travel issue if you don't let them know that there's another pet. But I don't know how it doesn't make sense to me. That's one of those things that they probably got a call one time about that and said, oh crap, now we have to tell people not to barbecue people's iguanas. Like now we have to include that in our terms and conditions. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a Mastiff staying at the house with you. Nobody else is going to be there, just our Mastiff. Is that okay? No, that's not ever going to happen. Stupid. Accommodations are not habitable, and this is the big one. This one's subjective, and so this is the one that's going to require evidence of proof. It's going to take photos. It's going to have, there's some specific terms in here, and we're not going to go into all of that. But so if you want to do that, we'll have a link to this specific page as well in the description. That way you can go look at all the detail, just the monotonous little small print and all that where it discusses like how they file a claim and the order of which to do that and all that. But this is subjective. They are not reasonably clean and sanitary, the accommodations, including bedding and towels. So if your bedding has a stain on it, if your bedding has, if there's a hair on it, if your towels have stains on them, if they're worn out, maybe they're frayed really bad on the end, if they contain a safety or health hazard, which again, this is pretty subjective, right? So if there is, if there's something that looks like mold underneath your spout because it's wet and maybe you live in the South where it's humid all the time, like something like that could get called out, or it contains pests. So in my experience in southeastern Oklahoma in the summertime, the flies are really, really bad. So my RV that I rent out Airbnb, it will get flies in it. So there's some things that are subjective that you kind of expose yourself to as a host, that it's not necessarily something that you can avoid sometimes, but there's definitely things that you can do to make sure that you're not at risk, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So like, for example, just disclosing some of these things, like if you've got flies a lot, certain seasons in the summer where, there's just thousands of flies all over the place. That's an act of nature. There's not really anything you can do about it except for to put up, whatever contraption they've got out nowadays that will, deter or trap and reduce the amount of bugs or mosquitoes or flies of any kind, and just like get rid of them and if you can show reasonable effort to get rid of this problem. And then also I would say, putting it in your description, not in a super like, there's flies, so don't even think about it or anything. Like, just don't make a big deal about it, but also just make sure it's in your description in a very concise and upfront way. It's like, hey, I hate this. Everybody hates this, but we've got some bugs that come in certain seasons of the year, and it is what it is. We've taken some precautionary, steps, and you should be fine. But just a heads up, and whatever you need to do to condense that down into something. But having it in your description puts the burden of that on them. And so if they leave you a review, or if they, make a claim so that they can get a different, Airbnb or whatever, they're not going to be able to get away with that because it was in your description and you agreed to it. And you've, as the host, have taken all the steps that you could possibly take. And you've got proof. You've got the bug zapper, a picture of the bug zapper and receipt. You've got, and all this is time stamped and all. And it's just a matter of making sure. And you can even list that in your amenities too. Like you can put these types of things in the amenities,
Yeah. So this is something I adopted actually. I went and stayed at an Airbnb in Galveston. And they were really clear about their insect. You're by the beach, you're going to have some insects. So let's see. I adopted this. This is out of my personal welcome packet, my online welcome packet says, little critters are simply a part of life in the country, especially during the summer and warmer months. Roaches, ants, fireflies, mosquitoes, chiggers, fruit flies, house flies are common to find around the park. We do our best to keep pests away. However, you can help keep them out of the RV by keeping the doors and windows closed as often as possible. Keep Willow, the Winnebago, clean. Don't leave food sitting out. Clean up food prep areas, etc. We definitely suggest bug spray, like exploring the ground, wear long pants. So anyway, the whole point of that is to say there are things that you can be intentional about describing. That way, you don't get somebody saying, "Well, I had no idea there were going to be flies in the RV," and say, "Well, listen, it's in this thing. When you booked, it said, here's some things to expect. So we do our best to keep them out, but you can't keep every fly out of every house. It's just not possible." So in that situation, and I don't think it's clear in their terms and conditions, Airbnb is going to have to make a judgment call, and it might end up not going in your favor sometimes. I would like to think Airbnb would be for us, but that sort of thing, I can see it going the other way.
I think all of this is in place to, really just protect the guests from, and I'm a guest too sometimes, I will be a guest in May at a place. And if I go to this place and it's going to be in the woods, and it's summertime, I don't care about the bugs and stuff. But like if I go in there and my bed's infested with ants, or there are literally like bed bugs and stuff, or, if something is really, really wrong and it's not supposed to be that way, then, one, if that happened and I was the host, then I would actually do whatever it took to like accommodate those guests. Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have ants in your bed. Let me get somebody over there to take care of that." That stuff happens, and you should be able to, fix that problem as a host. And if you don't fix that problem, then the guest needs to have some sort of recourse. And
yeah,
and that's fair. I don't see any problem with that. And that's how it's always been. Now the biggest changes are just the 72-hour deal and whatnot. Also, he pointed out in there that Airbnb can force payment for an upgrade, but after speaking with the Airbnb representative, that is not the case. They're not going to force any more money out of you over and above what that guest paid. And so,
right.
like if a guest ever wins a claim because you had ants or bed bugs or something like that, and it's a big enough reason, and they prove it, and they win their claim, rightfully so, then what happens is Airbnb will just they will reduce your payout by the amount that it costs for them to find another place, up to the amount that you received. You can't pay an extra $5,000 to stay on a private island. Like, that's
right.
Airbnb can't force you to do that.
So this is exactly the lingo that disproves that guy's statement. If a host cancels a stay or another travel issue disrupts a stay, the host will either receive no payout or will have their payout reduced by the amount of the refund to their guest. And it's not going to exceed what the actual cost of. So if your stay was $500, then it depends on how long they stayed. It depends on what the actual offense was. They're going to make a judgment call based on that, and you're going to lose up to the amount that it cost, which is $500, which your cut is never $500. Maybe your cut's $350. So you're out $350, and Airbnb loses their fees, but you're not going to have to come up with the money for their fees. Like, that's not how this thing works.
Right.
So how does Airbnb safeguard the hosts in this situation? This is not just fully in favor of the guests. They want to safeguard their hosts also. So this is something that's really important to note. There is a resolution center. So they're not just going to, if a claim gets made, they're not just going to push a button and then there goes all your money. They're going to they have to notify the host. A guest has to notify you as the host before they are going to get paid out anything. Guests can get refunds. This is right here. If you're wondering where I'm getting this from, this is in this section. So guests can get refunds directly from the host using the resolution center. So if you can come to an agreement with your guests via refunding of a certain amount, which, by the way, made this mistake before, all reimbursement information needs to be discussed in your chat thread,
in the platform, in the Airbnb
messages
platform.
Do not do it based on a text message
or a phone call.
Do it on a phone call.
Even a recorded phone call.
It's not going to work in your favor. Only do it on the message board. So that way Airbnb has instant access to it. Say, this is the conversation. They said this will result, I'm going to give you back $250 of your $500 stay. And that's going to, is that going to take care of the issues and you're comfortable staying there, assuming I get it cleaned up or whatever? Yes or no? If they say yes, then move forward, give them the refund. That's it. If they come back and say, if they leave you a 1-star review or something like that, we're going to get into that next time. So how to dispute a low review, which I'm excited to find out, because I've got a really crummy one and I want to use that one as an example on how to dispute that, if we can possibly do that. So we'll see next in our next episode here. But all that to say is they have to communicate with you. They can't just go on and say, Airbnb, we have these issues. Airbnb is going to say, have you talked to the host? And they're going to say, no, I haven't. Okay, well, go ahead and notify the host and see if you can resolve it there. If they can't, then you go back. So you have the opportunity as a host to kind of be an intermediary there between all of it and try to get it solved before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, it's not, the first step is always going to be for the guest to go through the resolution center. And honestly, like, Airbnb can't do anything, period, until there's been a claim started. And you get notified and you see all their proof, like they're going to take pictures or whatever and they'll post it. And then you'll be able to dispute any of those claims by going through the resolution center, showing your own pictures, showing receipts, and, basically, just making sure that the burden of proof, like the accuser is, has to show the burden of proof and everything, and it has to be legit. And then in your defense, you're going to have to be proactive to make sure that you are, being a good host and like taking care of your property. If a guest tells you about some mold underneath your sink, that's something that you're probably not going to check all the time. Well, I mean, now that you're made aware of it, you can check that, and you can take some pictures. And there's a really cool app that Koi has started using, and
we'll get to that in just a second.
Well, so you just basically just make sure that your bases are covered whenever it comes down to it, because I'm not ever I'm a good host. I'm a super host. I'm going to provide the best quality product for my guests, and that's genuine. I'm not just like pulling that out of my hat or anything. Like, it is what I'm trying to do. And there's some crooked people out there who don't deserve the kind of protection, because I've read some really just awful stories from some really creepy, like, live-in hosts and stuff like that. And anyways, there's some weird, if you're a male live-in host, don't list yourself in your description as a female. I'm just going to say that. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, never mind.
Don't snoop through your guest's room or luggage.
Probably a good practice. Yeah.
I feel comfortable giving you that advice.
Yeah, that's sound advice. So this is one last thing to note, and then I'm going to tell you about a really cool thing that'll save you time. It'll help you document everything. If you train your super team to be able to utilize this, it's going to save your rear end in the case that anything ever comes up. But I want to say this: travel issues that are caused by the guest, co-travelers, or their invitees or pets are not covered by this policy. Submitting a fraudulent claim violates the terms of service that the guest signs up for and may result in account termination. So there are repercussions for a guest that decides to do this, and be fraudulent about it. So that's helpful for me as a host, because I know that there are repercussions if they do something shady. And so that's anyway, that's helpful for me. Gives me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that Airbnb does not just have the guests' best interest in mind, but they're trying to make it as balanced as possible.
Yeah, they're going to have to be really good at falsifying evidence, and it's a whole lot more difficult than you'd think to falsify evidence. So I've had to make a lot of different claims just because, people don't treat your stuff the way that you would.
Right.
And thus far, I think I'm like 100%. Every single claim that I've made has been legit and has been covered either by the guest or by Airbnb. So there hasn't been a single one that I have not been able to prove beyond doubt, and it's been covered, So, and I don't know, that's one thing I'm not sure. If I make a claim as a host and then the guest never responds and they just fall off the face of the planet, then Airbnb takes over and they try to contact the host, and they have 72 hours to try to get a hold of the guest. And if they can't get a hold of them, then Airbnb covers whatever broke or needs to be cleaned or has to be repaired or whatever that is out of their pocket. And so you just basically are working with Airbnb at that point. I don't know what happens to the guest's account, though. That's still kind of a mystery to me. I haven't asked that question.
Well, I would imagine that if you
get penalized in some way.
If you get a strike against you or multiple strikes, then you don't get to have an Airbnb account with that information anymore. What's rough about that is that you can just get a new email address and start over.
Not if you have a license, and I have it set up so that only people who have an identity.
That's true.
Form of identity can book with me. And so if you use your driver's license, then
verified,
that is the only way that they can ensure that person will never be able to just create a new email address. Because you're right, if you don't have the ID verified option turned on, then you could get a whole bunch of crazy people. But I don't know what the percentage is. I should probably find that out. But I'm sure that most hosts require identity verification. Through Airbnb specifically. I don't know about Vrbo. I don't know about Booking.com or anything like that, but Airbnb has it to where it's highly encouraged to require identity verification. So
yeah, and I always check that when I get an inquiry on my RV. Say, is this a legitimate person? And it always give you that verification, identity verified. That way, that they're a legitimate person, that they have. This is not somebody that's making a duplicate account. And if they are, and it's not a verified, then don't host them. Just say no. Just say there's better people out there. It's not worth risking my property.
If they are verified, read through their reviews and see how they are. You can take a chance. I took a chance on somebody who had a 2-star review because they wanted to stay during Christmas.
Yeah.
And I let them stay during Christmas, but they had reviews saying that they left the house in really poor condition. There was trash everywhere. And then I called them and messaged them through Airbnb's platform. And I basically said, look, you have a really terrible review. I'm the kind of guy who gives second chances, but if you mess it up and you trash my house, I'm not going to give you a good review. Like, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows, no, this is strike number 2. And I told him, I said, if you do take care of the house, then I'll give you a raving review and say, this person, who left you the first review, they were crazy. They did not take good care of the house. They got a 3-star review. I'm generous in that way. So.
Yeah, you weren't gonna, go all the way to 2.
No, had to.
Man, that's a shame. That's a shame that after all of that, you still had a bad experience. But that's just, some people out there are just not going to take care of your stuff like you will. So
it's your, some people have different, level standards and
yeah. So ultimately, who does the burden of proof fall on? And you as a host have the ability to decide that. So if the burden of proof, or if you do not set the certain things in place ahead of time, the burden of proof is going to fall on you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you safeguard yourself as a host, as a short-term rental expert, as somebody who understands what, you know, the things that that can set you up for failure or success, then if you put those things in place, then the burden of proof falls on the guest, which that's what we really want. That if there's any meat that you take from this whole live stream, we're not screaming here. If there's anything that you take from this whole live stream, it's this point right here. Set yourself up for success. Make sure the burden of proof is on your guests, not on you. And so one thing that I've found to be extremely beneficial and helpful is a really, really cool app. I want to share it with you. So I'm going to share this screen here. This is called Company Cam. This is really, it's primarily used in construction projects and things like that, roofing. So I learned about it when I was in roofing, but it's absolutely perfect for this application. I signed up for it. It's free. This is the beauty of it. It is a free app. So let me go over here to pricing so you can see what all comes. You can pay for additional users or whatever, but this is for anybody who has less than 50 Airbnb properties, short-term rental properties. I have one. Most people don't have that many. You know, I suppose that maybe management companies could make use of this if they have multiple properties. But this is a free service. It's beautiful. You have 3 users. I'm one of the users for my property. I have a cleaning lady and I have a maintenance person. So between the 3 of us, that is the 3 users that I have take care of my property. And so what I do, and one of these days I'll give you a live demonstration. Maybe I'll try to figure out how to get my phone to go on the screen or something like that. But I can have so I have Willow Winnebago. I have it on my Company Cam app. And my cleaner, every single time that my cleaner goes to clean the cabin or to clean the RV or your house or your cabin or whatever you're leasing out, all they have to do is take pictures, just real quick. Take picture, take picture, take picture. There's no emailing it to your phone later. You don't have to thumb through all of them. There's none of that. So that's the biggest thing for most cleaners is they don't want to have to go through. You don't want to have to train them to go in and take pictures and then try to drop it in the computer or try to text it to you or email it to you, and it fills your phone up with a bunch of pictures that you have to go through later if there is a dispute. It's beautiful because you go through and your cleaning person can just click, you know, this is master bedroom, click, other bedroom, click, kitchen, click, living room, click, and it loads them all with a timestamp photo in your project folder. And it has it broken down where you can go in and say, oh, this stay was on, you know, March 20th. And it has all the pictures from March 18th when the person went and cleaned it and say everything was in this condition whenever it was cleaned. How beautiful is that? That would save you so much headache if you had somebody come in and say, oh, well, there was dirt on there's dirt on the floor in the kitchen. Oh, really? Well, here's a picture. Here's a picture from March the 18th. It shows that it's clean. Nobody's been in the house since. Here's my security cameras saying that nobody has been in the house since.
Here's my door lock history. You know, I have a lock called August Lock, and neither of these are sponsors or anything like that. We're not even close to something like that. But August Lock is, I highly recommend it. It's a great lock, and it actually keeps a record of each time your lock is unlocked and locked, and what time that happens. And you can even set it up so that if your cleaning service or if your handyman or whatever, you can assign them, you know, you can give them access, timed access or whatever, and it'll show up with, you know, Joe Smith opened the door at, you know, unlocked the door at 3 o'clock in the morning and stole the TV. Like that's, you'd know if it was your handyman who did that or if it's going to be your guest, just based on the history, the lock history. So yeah, there's some technology you can use, the app, the locks, cameras, having the camera, security camera, either like a doorbell or like a Blink security camera setup or something. Those types of things are going to make sure that you're covered whenever the time comes. If there is a chance that you're going to have to, shoulder some of the burden of proof there, it's going to be on them to say, well, no, here's how it happened. Well, no, I mean, here it is. I mean, you've got everything covered and it's bulletproof.
Yeah. So a couple quick ways just to recap, because we're gonna chop this into little pieces later on, and I'm gonna put these on our YouTube channel. That way you can go back and you can just hit the highlight points and know exactly all of the good solid nuggets in here. But the best ways that you can protect yourself is have your cleaning service take pictures. It doesn't matter if you use company cam or not. I don't know why you wouldn't, because it's a free service. It's something that it's so easy. All they have to do is have a smartphone, and that smartphone, the app is free. You get on there, you just click the pictures, it automatically puts it. All you have to do is create the project folder, create the Will of the Winnebago project, and all they have to do is click the pictures. Same thing with your maintenance person. If they go through and they fix a plumbing issue, snap, two pictures saying, hey, this is fixed now. Have them take pictures. It's super easy. Always promptly reset your property. And so as soon as you have guests check out, if you don't have somebody staying there for a week, don't wait. Don't wait for 4 or 5 days. Don't wait till the day before. Go ahead and get it reset. Have the pictures taken, and then have that lock set up where you know who is coming in your property. That way, there's no disputing it. If somebody comes to your property and comes inside, then now you have evidence saying that this was caused by them, or this was caused by no one, and this is the guest creating an issue that was not there. Always have a security camera outside if you can afford it, or you can take care of that. That way you have some sort of video proof knowing who's in and out. Do not ever put cameras inside your Airbnb. I don't know that there's anybody that is that dumb to do that. There was a story, I did read it, and maybe I can go find that for a future.
Just called some people dumb, I'm sure of it.
a future wall of shame here. I don't know that it was like in a perverted way necessarily, but I saw that somebody had some hidden cameras. It probably was in a perverted way. There's crazy people out there.
You are allowed legally to have cameras inside your property, but they cannot be pointed or in any room where people will be sleeping. That is,
or naked.
Well, people could be anywhere in the house naked, but the rule on Airbnb states that anywhere where somebody will be sleeping. So if you have a living room with couches, people could sleep in there. So if you have like an entryway, and you want to have a camera aimed right at the entryway so that you get a picture of somebody's face just as they're walking inside your house, technically that is legal. I will tell you this though, guests are freaked out by that, and just don't do it. I mean, it's not necessary. There's ways that you can get all the same things that an interior camera can give you without having any interior cameras. You got doorbells, you got exterior cameras that do justice to all of this stuff. Like it's totally unnecessary to have interior cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. It's something that I wasn't even aware of. So that's why we have Evan here. He's the resident STR expert. So glad to have you here to answer those kind of questions. So the last thing I will say is be a responsible host. When you set up your listing, be honest, be accurate. That will safeguard you against all of the things that have been in the terms and conditions, cancellation policies, whatever, forever. So all of the, how many rooms it has, how many beds it has, how many, who you're going to share the property with, if there's apparently going to be a live-in pet or something like that. So this is one I hadn't thought about. Maybe it's not a mastiff. Maybe it's a
cat,
a terrarium with hermit crabs. Something like that. Some sort of little small pet. If it's a vacation home or something where the family goes once a month or something like that, and they don't use it the rest of the time, and they list it Airbnb, but they have somebody come by to feed their, ghost shrimp or whatever. Like, you better list that.
Sure.
Whatever. I don't know. be honest about it. Let everybody know what's going to be in the property, and just a word that I learned a lot of time is preclusion. Preclude all of the potential issues. Make sure that you have a response up front, and you're not going to ever be able to have that 100%. There's always going to be things that come up that people try to weasel in and out of, and that's where being a superhost is incredibly important. So do what you can to become a superhost. I'm a superhost. Evan's a superhost, and I'll tell you, their customer service is top notch. It's the best. They answer your questions. They're there for you, and they want to. If you're a superhost, they're going to go above and beyond to make sure you're taken care of, because you're a quality person on their team. So, any other final thoughts before we kind of, I guess, sign out and whatever we're going to end up doing?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of information, and I really hope that there's going to be some more questions. So, because I mean, that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to kind of help out other people, maybe save you some, pain and heartache, or at least give you some direction if you ever do run into an issue that you're just not sure exactly how to get started with it. I'm here to answer any of those questions, and I love helping people. So just please, don't hold back. Ask me anything. I can't guarantee I'll have the answer, but at the very least, I can actually go and find it, because I do have some resources and some previous experience, and kind of a network of people who, if I ever had any questions, like, I can go and ask. But and the only other thing I'll say is like, if you're not sure about something, you can ask me, because I've probably already figured, like gone and asked Airbnb, but call Airbnb or whatever website you're using directly, and ask them directly your question, and have them explain it to you, point by point, and just make sure that it is exactly what they're saying, or maybe you're misunderstanding it, or it could be anything. So, just don't freak out, and don't let one bad experience, get you turned off to short-term rentals, because I'm telling you, I've been doing real estate investing for quite a while now, 10 years, and there are very few things that you can invest in that can have the type of financial rewards that Airbnbs and all, any kind of short-term rentals can have. And then, this is a really fun niche to be in. I've really enjoyed it over the last, it's been getting close to actually 3 years now that I've been doing short-term rentals for my properties, and then probably another 3 years in addition. I think I said like 5 earlier, but it's probably been about 6 years since I started doing corporate housing, and I've had some really weird stories. But one thing that I did leave out is through all of this, you're going to have problems with your house. And it's not going to always be the guest's fault. Like, sometimes you'll just have a cleaning service who did a really bad job cleaning the house. And that is an instance where, yeah, the guest is in the right place to complain about that. And you, as the host, are, expected to be able to compensate and make up for that in some way, because you are providing a service, a hospitality service, which means that you've got to make it right. And I've bought people pizzas. Like, one person walked into my house, and apparently one of the box springs was just broken, and it was just wood. And there was a previous guest who was like 350 pounds, and he slept on the bed, and he broke the box spring because the mattress just concaved, and just snapped it like twigs.
Wow.
And then the next guest that came was like, man, I laid on this bed and I sunk to the floor. And he was like, I'm only 185 pounds. Like, I didn't break this. And I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. My previous guest stayed there, and they'd had they told me that I have a really big guy staying with me. He's 350 pounds, and, he must've broken it, and they just didn't tell me about it. And so, I bought a new box spring, and I had it shipped over there. I had my handyman go and assemble it. And that evening I had a pizza sent over their house, Papa John's or whatever. And I said, I just apologized profusely. whatever you can do. And I still ended up getting a 5-star review from that guy. Like it was awesome.
And
so,
a big part of that is because you owned it.
yeah,
You owned it and you took care of it. You didn't make excuses.
Mhm.
You saw there was a problem. You handled it, and the guests appreciate that. And guests are, Dave Ramsey says 3% of people out in the world should be institutionalized. Most people are not. They're the other 97%. Most
Mhm.
people understand that things happen. That
Mhm.
you don't live there. In fact, how many times have you physically been to your Airbnb property in the last year
In the
to
last
handle an issue?
in the last 2.5 years, I've been back to that Airbnb 2 times. I'm 1,000
So
miles away.
yeah, you don't have to be on site to manage it. It's
Mhm.
about having a good, solid team and knowing what to do and how to take care of people. Customer service is incredibly important. So,
Mhm.
I want to wrap up with this. Next time, we are going to talk about how to challenge a negative review, and we're going to try to do this live stream every Thursday around 10 o'clock. We might try some different times, but we'll keep you posted. These will be posted consistently. We're going to take the highlight points of each one of these videos so that you don't have to thumb through an hour and 10 minutes of footage, and you can go straight to the best parts of it. We're going to have those scattered throughout the week. So make sure to go subscribe. We want to encourage you to subscribe, not just because we need subscriptions. That's important to us. We are trying to grow this community and grow this channel, but we really want to provide you with great resources. And so if we post a video, we want you to be able to go and see that video and make use of it and implement the best parts of it, or challenge us on it. Comment down below, say, this is dumb. What did you say here? This doesn't make any sense. And give us an opportunity to have some dialogue. Maybe we'll bring up that comment on the next live stream or something like that. But either way, we want to encourage you to go subscribe, like this video. That really helps the algorithm. We want to be able to share this information with as many people as possible. And last
stories too. I want to hear about
yeah, if you've got a crazy story about somebody cooking your cat or something like that, we want to hear about it. I want to know. Hopefully
it's too close to home, man.
Oh, sorry, I forgot you're a cat guy. Don't hold that against us, Evan. That
Cats, man. It's just whatever. All right.
Okay. Well, moving on. We just lost half our subscribers, but that's fine. We'll get some other ones as we go. I'll just edit that part out of the video. But lastly, I want to if you are considering the short-term rental deal, if you have not ever set up a property, if you're considering buying a property, maybe you have a second home that you've never put on Airbnb. We are Airbnb proponents. We appreciate and respect them, and we want to encourage you to list on their platform. Go to airbnb.com when you sign up. I'm going to have a link down in the description for if you click that link to go sign up for Airbnb, you're going to get $40 when you sign up your first guests when they stay there. So I want to encourage you to do that. There's no obligation except for you've got to set up a property, and if you do it like we're suggesting, you're going to have success too. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that you have to be on site constantly or deal with all the time. If you set the systems up in place, you're going to have a great experience.
Some people, as 2 guys recently, they were considering starting up an Airbnb, except for they were doing some research. Smart guys researching, seeing, is this legit? Well, there are a ton. 10 minutes before this video, I just jumped on Google and was trying to figure out some of these stories that are just crazy out there stories, but they read a bunch of the stories, the horror stories out there, and they were concerned, as they should have been. But I told them, like, this is what I ended up telling them. I said, look, there are ways to do this the wrong way. You can set up your Airbnb in a way that you're going to get, you're going to come away with losses. I'll just put it that way. And you're going to get beat down and all this. But there is a way that you can set it up where it's literally, it's difficult to fail. Like, you're going to have to really try hard to fail, because this system that you can create, it is just set up in a way that it just works. And that's all I can say about it, is it just works. You set up the Airbnb and you do the system and it works. That's it. And we're just keep coming back. We're going to go into a whole bunch of that stuff, and I'll teach you how to do my system. I recently taught a friend of mine how to do this whole thing, and I literally just gave him my system of doing this entire thing. And right out of the gate, day one, he had rented out, and we're 5 months down the line now since he started his first Airbnb. And he has had a huge success. He has loved it the entire time. It's been rented out, has had great occupancy rates, and he's been getting a premium for it. And it's just been a wonderful experience for him. So I can teach somebody who has never done an Airbnb how to get started and get off the ground really quickly in a sustainable way. So
that's a great teaser. Come on, yeah, let's get them in for next time. So we're gonna have all this stuff as we go. We're gonna have these podcasts every Thursday again at around 10 o'clock. So we'll post it on Facebook. We'll live stream on YouTube. Go subscribe so you know right when we hit. Right whenever we hit the interwebs, and we are excited. We can't wait to do the next one. Stay tuned. We've got lots of good cabin tours. I'm working on a cabin tour right now that's called Stargazing, and it's an awesome cabin, and I can't wait to show it to you. Go check out our other tours that we've done, and we cannot wait to share more information with you right here on AirBnB. Wow, there we go. Okay, hey, it's the first time. We cannot wait to show you all of the ins and outs of this awesome business right here on AirBNBeards. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.